What is going on, everybody? Happy Victory Monday to all you Eagles fans out there. Welcome to episode 22 of Let's Be Frank with your host, your friendly neighborhood bull, Frank Mattis, brought to you by the Old City Sports Network. And we got a great show for you fam out there. Obviously, the Eagles defeat the Green Bay Packers, beat the shit out of the Green Bay Packers in what was a big boy football affair by your uh, Philadelphia Eagles. They go on to the divisional round and will await tonight's winner of the Minnesota Vikings and LA Rams. I will obviously go into great detail of the game and what I think about this team going forward. The national championship game is set between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I have my thoughts on these games that took place on Thursday and Friday. And the Flyers finally win a game. They snap a 4-game losing streak in a statement victory over Quitter Gauthier and the Anaheim Ducks. And I will get into what this could potentially mean down the line for the Philadelphia Flyers. A lot to get into. But first, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the Eagles. That was an ass kicking yesterday. That was an ass kicking. And the Philadelphia Eagles imposed their will on the Green Bay Packers. And it couldn't be more evident than the opening play when Oren Burks laid out Keshawn Dixon, causing a fumble, and the Eagles recovered, in which Jalen Hurts turned into a touchdown to Jahan Dotson. And that set the tempo for the game. That pretty much set the tempo for the game in terms of, the Eagles were going to be the more physical team. And the very first play, they made that known. And that was the story of the whole game. The Philadelphia Eagles, it wasn't the prettiest game, at least from the offensive side of the ball, but defense, special teams, and some of the blocking from the Eagles offense, what was tremendous in the game. They just kicked the shit out of the Green Bay Packers. It's pretty simple. They just played big boy football, and the Packers they couldn't respond. After the first touchdown, it was, you kind of felt like the Eagles were on their way to victory. Even, after the first touchdown drive, it just seemed like the Eagles were going to be in control of this game, and they were. The defense was absolutely tremendous. What an incredible performance by arguably the best defense in all football. And credit to Vic Fangio and what he's been able to do this year. Just a tremendous job. To me, if Vic Fangio does not win Assistant Coach of the Year, that will be a bigger travesty than Shakespeare in Love beating Saving Private Ryan for the Best Picture of 1998. What Vic Fangio has done with this defense, given where they were last year and how everything transpired last year, it's night and day. And we've talked about it all year long, this transformation of this defense. And Vic Fangio deserves all the credit in the world, what he's been able to do, taking guys like Zach Bond and putting them in a position where he hadn't played in the inside off-ball linebacker, and what he's been able to do this year playing at an all-pro level, first-team all-pro, that is, and it's richly deserved. I thought he was tremendous, as always, like he's been all year long. Nolan Smith is a dog, and it just goes to show you, a lot had been said about Nolan Smith going to the year. He better step up, or he's a bust, and he's this and he's that. It's very apparent that Nolan Smith just needed time. He just needed an opportunity to show his worth and to get much needed experience and much needed reps, and to get acclimated to the NFL and the pro speed of things. He has been a revelation. He was, to me, I thought, the player of the game defensively. He was all over the field. Whether it was pass rushing, whether it was in the run game, he was tremendous. He was, taking on, pulling offensive linemen and taking them out of the game, laying the boom. Just a tremendous game by him. And just, it goes to show you, there's certain guys that just need reps. And, Brandon Graham obviously went down with an injury this year, but that was an opportunity for a guy like Nolan Smith to get more time. And he was tremendous, and he just needs more seasoning. And this guy has been a revelation, and I've been singing his praises all year long. and the guy was a game wrecker yesterday. And this whole defense played like game wreckers. The linebackers were tremendous. Obviously, Zach Bone had the interception. N'Kobe Dean, was putting his body on the line quite literally. And unfortunately, we got word that he will most likely miss the rest of the postseason. Shout out to him for having a hell of a season. His presence will definitely be missed. His play will definitely be missed. But him going out on the shield, sort of like BG, I have nothing but respect for a guy like him. He was, before he got hurt, he was playing with his hair on fire, laying the boom, hurting guys and putting them in body bags, just like the rest of this defense. Secondary was tremendous. Kenyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship, Darius Slay, Isaiah Rodgers, when he had to fill in for Slay, made a play, breaking up a potential touchdown pass. So this was a complete defensive effort, and this is what it's been all year long. And the old adage of defense wins championships, and we have a championship winning defense. There's no question about it. And I will touch on the offense, but at the very least, this is a championship level defense. And shout out to Vic Fangio and what he's been able to do. I mean, what he has done to this defense, it's night and day from last year. And this was a liability last season, and people did not know what to expect of this defense this year. If you were to, I said that this defense would be better than people think. I didn't think it'd be this good. I didn't think it'd be arguably the best defense in football. But that's what we have here, and it's every single level, playing physical, big boy football, and being where they need to be. It's a thing to behold, because a lot's been said about this being such an offensive driven league, and defensive football is, or quality defensive football was on the edge of extinction in a lot of ways. And it's just so geared towards the offensive side of the ball, where seeing this type of defense was something that was going to be an anomaly going forward. But credit to this defense, just an outstanding performance by them. I can't say enough good things. I'm so blown away by how this defense played, and we have a defense that is going to give any team problems going forward. I don't care who you are. It's going to be hard to score on this defense. And they set the tone, by their physical play. And you kind of knew early on in the game that the Green Bay Packers, this was going to be a steep hill to climb, and they beat the shit out of them. They put people in body bags. Obviously Dobbs went out, Reed went out. Their left tackle, I believe, and their center were taken out of the game. The Eagles were just the more physical team, and defensively, it was very evident. As far as the offense is concerned, I know a lot's been said about this offense performance, and I get it. I get it. Like, you definitely wanted to see more. There were some opportunities there, and they definitely left some meat on the bone, so to speak. But they didn't need to necessarily impose their will, and have this, point fest, so to speak. I mean, they did what they had to do. They didn't really have to do a lot, because the defense put them in such great situations throughout the game. And to me, they definitely looked rusty. It looked like they were playing with their food. There were some play calls that, I didn't quite get. There was a 3rd and 5 at midfield that they decided to throw, you know, along the sidelines, or, at the line of scrimmage, when they were not, trying to attack the middle of the field, or look downfield and attack that. Jalen Hurts, to me, did not play his best game, so to speak. He did not play a great game. He really needs to do a better job of getting rid of the football. There's been a lot of instances this year where, when he's trying to roll out and trying to extend the play, and try to get the ball down the field, he will, instead of throwing away the ball, will slide, for a 2-yard loss, and that shit needs to stop. I don't quite get why he's doing that. He can simply just throw it away. That's something that he needs to clean up. But other than that, I'm not going to lose sleep over the offensive performance. This game was won on the first play in a lot of ways. I mean, the Eagles defense sent the tempo, and the offense kind of, was playing with their food a bit, but they got the job done at the end of the game, doing, imposing their will late in the game. Lane Johnson proved to me that he should have been first team All Pro, throwing guys like Walker around. That's just, that's what a first team All Pro is. And Panay Sewell is a phenomenal player. There's no getting around it. Obviously, there was a picture at Lane Johnson's locker of all the stats that prove that Lane Johnson had a better year than Panay Sewell. And I think the tape showed it, throwing guys around like he usually does. And, kudos to him and how he played. Again, like the offense was fine, all things considered, and I understand some of the criticism with how they played. They definitely left some meat on the bone, but they didn't have to, necessarily, put up a lot of points because this was a game that um, was won by the defense and controlled by the defense. And you could look at it this way. Um, they didn't necessarily have to, show all the tricks in their bag, so to speak, and they have um, a lot more to show and a lot more to prove. And if Sunday was the floor of this offense, and they can only be better from here, I would feel really good about our team going forward. I liked obviously what I saw from the defense. Sure, they could have got AJ Brown more involved. I definitely was kind of scratching my head at that. But again, I think that you know there's some room for improvement, and I think you will see AJ Brown involved more in the divisional round for sure. They got to get him going. They got to get him the ball. Um, because he's such a tremendous player. Kudos to Dallas Goddard on that touchdown run with the touchdown catch with the three stiff arms, just playing big boy football, and that was kind of the game. They just kind of were the bully, just kind of messing around, and they still won by 2 possessions. So I wouldn't lose too much sleep over the offense performance. I understand why people would be concerned per se, because they can do so much more. And Jalen Hurts, has some things he can improve upon. But they won this game handedly. I did not feel in any way that the Green Bay Packers were going to come back in this game. I just had all the faith in the world in this defense, and the rest in terms of the offense was kind of gravy. And they just kind of, like I said, they kind of play with their food, but they got the job done. They did just enough to win that game, and you're going to see this offense kind of step up a bit here throughout the playoffs. I feel because I think they know that if they in order to win a Super Bowl, the offense needs to show more. No one's going to dispute that, but this game was over from the opening kickoff in a lot of ways, just in terms of the physicality. Um, so I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it. I'm also not going to lose sleep over AJ Brown reading a book on the sidelines. Like, so many people lose their minds with this guy. Like, here's a theory. Have you ever got the impression AJ Brown is just being a troll? And all you boomers out there, all you people that think he's a cancer and a diva, buy this shit hook, line, and sinker, that, he doesn't care. And you look at him reading a book on the sideline. See, he's checked out. He doesn't care. He's being selfish. But the guy was throwing dudes around in the run game, blocking for his teammates. I think AJ Brown is self-aware enough about what has been said about him. I think he understands that, he only got a catch for 10 yards, and the camera was going to be on him, seeing, oh, how is he going to react? And, given the offense was kind of stale throughout the game, how's AJ Brown going to react? I think he knew the cameras were going to be on him, and that's why he pulled out the book. Has it ever occurred to any of you that he's messing with you? I mean, do you not see, his social media profile picture being the Joker? after the whole thing of, BG talking about Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown's relationship. Like, don't you think he's aware of what's being said about him and he's trying to fuck with you? Like, guys, get a clue. Like, he's trying to get a reaction out of you. He knows you guys are going to take the bait. That's why he pulled out the book. Okay. And for anybody that's like, oh, he's selfish, he's this, he's that. Like, I was watching Breakfast Ball and that moron Greg Jennings was talking about, oh, the optics of this are terrible. First of all, dude, you made a career of yourself after football trashing Aaron Rodgers, despite the fact that Aaron Rodgers got you a Super Bowl ring, got you, I don't know how many 1,000-yard seasons, got you paid millions of dollars, but you decided it would be easy to make a career for yourself in the analysis game by trashing Aaron Rodgers. So this guy has no credibility whatsoever. You want to talk about optics? Well, it's bad optics to trash a quarterback that gave you a Super Bowl ring, 1,000-yard seasons, and generational wealth. Okay. You owe your career to Aaron Rodgers. Okay. I don't know why you're trashing the guy. You just want to make a career for yourself, trashing a guy who's given you everything. So, all these people that are running their mouth about um, the optics of this. He's trying to get a reaction out of you, okay? Like like enough of this. So many boomers have come out of the woodwork being like, "This guy's a cancer, this and that." He's getting a reaction out of you. He knows you guys are going to be watching him. Oh, how's AJ going to react not being involved in the offense? Like, he knows what he's doing, and you guys take the bait. So, I'm not losing my mind over the AJ Brown pulling out the book. I think it's hilarious. It's him trolling. So I have no problem with that whatsoever. I think he's poking fun of the whole situation, and he showed up in the run game by blocking and helping out his teammates in other areas. But make no mistake about it, they will get him involved in the next game, and be sure to look out for AJ Brown because he is always open, and you're going to see a heavy dose of him going forward in this playoff. So I'm not going to lose sleep over that. I'm not going to lose sleep over the offense. They didn't have to make it an aerial assault. They didn't have to put up a ton of points. This game was over from the get-go. So I'm not, I'm not that worried. I understand that it has to be better, but in the context of the game yesterday, what they did was fine. And what they did just enough to win very comfortably in that game yesterday. So going forward, I feel good about this team, especially defensively. It's going to be hard to move the ball, whether it's throwing, running against this defense. They look like the best defense in football right now, and I feel good about that. And the offense is only going to get better. The offense is only going to add more things and more wrinkles, and they are going to make it really tough on these defenses going forward. I feel good about the Vikings and the Rams. Whoever we play, the Vikings, you know, um, if Aaron Glenn can make Sam Darnold see ghosts with a depleted defense of the Detroit Lions, what do you think Vic Fangio is going to do with Sam Darnold? With like all the different looks that he's going to present to him, like what do you think that's going to look like? And as far as the Rams go, obviously early on in the year we beat the shit out of them, and they're, even though they're healthy and their defense is playing at a high level, their offense is just, you want to talk about a dreadful offense. I mean, the Rams are in a lot worse shape than the Philadelphia Eagles. And they're healthy too. So I mean, they are in a way worse situation offensively for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on there in LA, but I feel good about, I know LA and Minnesota have a lot of weapons, but we've gone against teams that have a lot of weapons and we shut them down with our defense. And I feel good about our offense going forward. I think they're going to add more wrinkles and put these defenses on eggshells. And, listen, Jalen Hurts was his first game back, and, he was knocking off some rust. But if he can get rid of the football and get AJ involved, I think you're going to see a much improved offense going forward. We've seen this offense, against good teams. Look what they did against the Rams, an ascending defense. Look what they did against the Pittsburgh Steelers early on in the year. So they can impose their will on good defenses. And, they didn't have to put on an aerial assault yesterday. They just kind of, we're playing with their food, but I totally get people's criticism in terms of like this can't be our ceiling going forward. And I think they know that, and I'm not losing sleep over that. I think, once you get AJ more involved, pound the rock, um, I like our chances. I wouldn't lose sleep over it. I would just calm down a bit. Um, because this was a game that was over from the get go, and in a lot of ways, you didn't have to, show everything by throwing the ball all and up, up and down the field, and you now have that latitude, by running a simplistic game plan yesterday to slowly bring out new tricks and wrinkles to this offense. So I would just calm down a bit. But I get it though, I think they'll be fine going forward. So obviously the Eagles move on. I feel good about whoever they play between the Vikings and the Rams. So yeah, I feel good. I feel really good. Um, as far as the playoffs are concerned so far, I was kind of shocked at the Chargers' performance, to be honest with you. Kudos to the Texans. I did not see that coming. They played their best football this year. CJ Stroud was impressive. Their defense was very impressive. I'm a big fan of Justin Herbert, but a lot of people are going to rake him over the coals for that performance, and rightfully so. Throwing the ball, across your body, you can't do that. He mouthed some passes. The one interception wasn't his fault, but at the same time, he needed to show up in that game, and he didn't. You can argue he was overcompensating for the lack of weapons. And I do think that did kind of expose them a bit. Ladd McConkey's a great slot guy and a great number 2 receiver, but he is a number 2 receiver. He's not a number 1. They need a consistent target going forward. Quentin Johnston, he's got all the tools to be great, but he just can't catch the football, and that's a problem if you're going to be a wide receiver in the National Football League. And yeah, they're going to have to get another receiver there, and you know, I think that was a performance by a guy who's trying to overcompensate for his wide receivers, but there's no excuse for it. I think Justin Herbert to me is one of the best quarterbacks in football, but a lot of people that were critical of him and have kind of overstated or have criticized him that and have levied criticism his way that I think is a little bit overstated. But after a performance like that, they're going to be out in droves, raking them over the coals, and rightfully so. You got to be better than that. They paid him the bag. He threw more interceptions in that game than he did all year, so he's got to be better. And he's gonna lose sleep over this performance, and he's got to be better. So, not a good day if you're a defender of Justin Herbert, but we'll see going forward. As they potentially add more pieces around him. It was a successful year, all in all. They won 5 wins last year, and Jim Harbaugh going in there and winning 11 games is impressive. So don't lose sight of that. They do. They still have work to do, and they will get better. But credit to the Houston Texans, their defense was lights out. They confused things for Justin Herbert, and they feasted off of that. And they're playing their best football at the right time. I don't think it'll be enough to beat the Chiefs, but I think that they will be in that game. Against the Chiefs. The spread's only 7.5. Or I should say only, but that sounds about right. Like, I don't think the Chiefs are gonna, blow the doors off of them. I think that they will win. Obviously, I think they're the better team. But if you're a Texans fan, you got to be feeling good right now because you're playing your best ball at the right time. So kudos to them. And then the Ravens Steelers game. I mean, I knew that was going to look the way it looked. The Steelers, I have nothing but respect for. They've been a model of consistency, but they need to stop resting on their laurels with this whole Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season thing. That ceiling can't be 9-8, 10-7. Their offense needs a reboot, whether it's quarterback, whether it's there's been talks about possibly trading Mike Tomlin. You can get more draft picks for that. You can get a couple 2s, maybe a 1 for Mike Tomlin. A team like the Bears could desperately use a guy like Mike Tomlin. I think it's it's not an indictment, against Mike Tomlin, not in saying that he's a bad coach, but it's time. He hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. And this inept offense that we've seen over and over and over again by the Pittsburgh Steelers is just unacceptable. They're obviously going to play good defense. But then again, they didn't play good defense on Saturday. So like if that's your calling card is to play good defense and ball control and you couldn't do that, it's time for a reboot. You know, Mike Tomlin has done nothing but great things for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's a phenomenal coach. But I think it's time. I think it's time to go in a new direction, to go in an offensive-oriented direction. So I'm very curious to see how they handle this offseason because they need a reboot offensively. They need to reconstruct their entire offensive philosophy because it's holding this team back. And you know, you can't just chuck the ball up to George Pickens every play. And they need to do something because it's not working, and you can't rest on your laurels of being 9-8 and 10-7. Pittsburgh Steelers fans deserve better, and it's going to be interesting this offseason. And then yesterday we had the Bills, running away with it against the Broncos. I thought the Broncos looked good early on, but then the Bills, really imposed their will running the ball. James Cook, they've he has been a godsend. Obviously, people have given all the praise to Josh Allen, but I think James Cook deserves a lot of credit. He has been a revelation for that offense, and he's taken the pressure off of Josh Allen. In a lot of ways, but Josh Allen obviously does what he does. Just a man amongst boys out there. And the Bills looked really good yesterday. I cannot wait for the Bills Ravens matchup. That should be very interesting. I think the Ravens have better players, but being in Buffalo, it's going to be tough. I don't know about that game. That's going to be a great game. I mean, it really could go either way. It's a coin flip. No, I cannot wait to see Lamar and Josh Allen duke it out. That's a pick 'em, in my book. I think, you know, I think when the Ravens are at their best, especially in the postseason, and then the factor in also too, their defense has gotten a lot better down the stretch. I might favor the Ravens in that game, but I'm not putting my chips in the center of the table confident. I think that they might be able to ink it out just because when their ceiling, but then again, Josh Allen, is playing at playing at an MVP level as well. So, but I just think the Ravens, especially if Zay Flowers can play, I just think they have the horses to go in the Buffalo and beat them. So I would favor them to win that game. So I'm looking forward to that. And then last night, the Commanders get a victory in Tampa. I told you, I just had a feeling that Jaden Daniels was going to get it done, and he did. And they're on to the next round. They go to Detroit, and I think their season ends there. I think Detroit is the better team. It's been a great story for the Commanders, and they have a very bright future ahead of them, much to the chagrin of myself being an Eagles fan. So, kudos to them. And, they have definitely overachieved this year. And now they're on to the divisional round. But I do think that the Lions will take care of business there. So all we got to wait for is the winner of the Vikings and Rams. And, I feel good about whoever comes out of that matchup. I think, like I mentioned before, I think the Eagles match up well with them, especially defensively. It's going to be hard to move the ball. And I think the offense is going to look to rev things up and add more wrinkles going forward because they have to. And hopefully this was a game where Jalen Hurts knocked off some rust and he can kind of do him and play his game going forward. I do think that if we're critical of a 22-10 victory, it just goes to show you how good this team is and what they can be. And they have shown against better competition, whether it be the Steelers, whether it be the Rams, who have played good defense, who've played good defense throughout the year. If they can ramp this offense to another level to go along with this all-world defense, sky's the limit for the Eagles. So I feel good about the Eagles going forward. So that's going to cover the NFL. I want to talk about college football. The national championship is set between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, as I predicted. Um, big game. James strikes again, baby. Man, I mean that's just who they are, dude. That's just who Penn State is. They don't win these games, and they had every chance to win this game. They were gashing the Notre Dame Fighting Irish defense early on in that game. You know, when they went up 10-0, I'm like, this could be a long night for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And then you see, Riley Leonard go down, and but they were, with their backup quarterback coming in, they were able to steal 3 points going to the half, and they got all the momentum, and they they didn't make the mistakes that Penn State made. I mean, they had the interception, when it was tied 17-17, and then the Nittany Lions capitalized and make it 24-17. But, Drew Aller's going to be Drew Aller. He was airmailing balls all game long. He looked terrible. And if I were him, I'd absolutely go back to college because he looked like a 6th-round quarterback. The guy just absolutely choked away the game. You never throw the ball. Um, across the field like that. That's just ridiculous. And then his body language on the sideline was just pathetic, just rolling his eyes and acting, like a child. Like, grow up, dude. Like you were playing terrible all game long. Like, you got to take accountability and you got to be a man because you played like a child, and Notre Dame took advantage of that. And that's James Franklin for you, not helping. You see your quarterback struggling, and you're gashing them on the ground, and you refuse to run the football. That's just, and I predicted that they're going to get cute, they're going to get stubborn. They should have just played for overtime, or tried to run the ball after they had that big play, or not a huge play, but they got a first down, 10-yard run in their last drive, or the second to last drive, before the interception, and they should have just played it by ear, running the ball, and tried to get it to midfield and close out the game that way. But you put your quarterback in harm's way, and he's going to throw a lollipop across the field and end their season. And it couldn't happen to a better program. I'm so sick and tired of James Franklin running his mouth, talking about after the game. He had some stupid quote talking about, I don't want to be transactional, I want to be transformative. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, go out there and win a big game, dude. Okay? Like, I'm so sick of this guy running his mouth about the format, running his mouth about this and that. The guy just complains, but he never gets the job done. He's the bridesmaid, never the bride of college football. And they could have won that game by running the football and taking the pressure off Drew Aller, but they decided to throw the ball for whatever reason. And that's Notre Dame for you. The bridesmaid, never the bride of college football. And credit to Notre Dame. Last week I did a mea culpa on their program. Marcus Freeman has done a hell of a job, and Notre Dame's not an easy place to play, because there's academic provisions with that program, and obviously with NIL, you could easily transfer to a much better spot. But these guys are playing, with their hair on fire for this guy, and there were times in his tenure, in his first year, as the full-time head coach, losing to Marshall at home, losing to Northern Illinois at home. And a lot of people are like, well, you know, they could definitely use Brian Kelly, but he's, this is a team that has resonated with this guy, and it has made Brian Kelly look really bad, especially going to the SEC, thinking that, with the some of the limitations academically at Notre Dame, he doesn't have, that restriction there at LSU. He has the latitude to kind of get whoever he wants, and he's underachieved greatly at LSU. And that's another guy who I don't really have a ton of love for. He's a guy that likes to run his mouth a bit. And credit to Marcus Freeman. A lot's been said. He's just a guy taking over. He's going to be a guy that will be a transitional coach, sort of like what you see with Sharon Moore. Obviously Sharon Moore came from the Jim Harbaugh coaching staff, and then Marcus Freeman came from the Brian Kelly coaching staff. But both guys, have got their programs turned into the right direction, and they have a real one in Marcus Freeman. So kudos to Notre Dame. I don't think they will be able to beat Ohio State. They are, I believe, an 8-point dog at the moment, and I think with good reason because Ohio State, you know, let's get on to that one. Ohio State obviously beat Texas and pulled away at the end of that game, sort of exposing, not sort of, but exposing Quinn Ewers, um, who folded and it just kind of like Drew Allard kind of played, um, to play tight, just didn't, rise to the occasion despite his potential. We saw early on in the year in the Michigan game, a lot of people were thinking that this could be, a potential Heisman Trophy winner, and he just hasn't replicated that success. He's looked good in spots, but he just hasn't played consistent. And there's going to be a lot of questions as to maybe Arch Manning should have uh, took over when Quinn Ewers went down. There's going to be a lot of questions there, and there's going to be a lot of questions about the goal line off the red zone offense late in the game when Texas had an opportunity to tie the game, and then they decided to run a sweep play at the goal line, and they lost about 2-3 yards. And you're thinking, what the hell was that? And then obviously Jack Sawyer strip sack, returned for a touchdown, put the game on ice for the Buckeyes. And yeah, that was disappointing by Texas. They had every opportunity to win that game. They To me, it looked like the only team that can go toe to toe with Ohio State, other than Michigan, obviously. Um, in terms of player for player, and that was kind of the theme throughout the game. That's why Texas was in that game. But Quinn Ewers and Sark at the end of the game pissed it away, and the Buckeyes go on to win or go on to the national title game and look like they're going to win a national title, unfortunately. And that's going to be a tough pill to swallow. Hopefully the Fighting Irish can kind of do what Michigan did and put them in a try to force them to play a phone booth game where they get cute and try to outthink the room and try to play big boy football with Notre Dame. And if they try to do that, that won't work. I hope that's the game plan. I hope Ryan Day, with his ego, tries to play that type of game. But unfortunately, I don't think that that's going to be the case. I think that they just, do what they're doing. I think they should win this game pretty comfortably. And it looks like Ohio State and Michigan run college football, in a lot of ways. And man, I can't wait. I cannot wait for November 29th, 2025. I cannot wait for that game. And I think that's going to make that game, they call it the game for a reason, but you can make the argument Michigan and Ohio State run college football, and I think that that's going to do gangbusters for that rivalry. A lot's been said about the SEC being dead potentially, uh, and I think there is some validity to that. I don't. I think it's a little overstated. Like I think Texas is always going to be fine. Georgia is going to be fine, and then you have your teams like Alabama, Ole Miss. Tennessee's solid. But when you go into cold weather, when you go against these Big Ten teams, the teams that have national championship or bust aspirations like Michigan, Ohio State. Um, you are starting to see a turn. Like I don't know if it's the Big Ten that's going to take over for college football, but I know it's Michigan, Ohio State's world, and everybody's living in it. And that game on November 29th could not come any sooner. Now that we have a quarterback in Michigan, in Bryce Underwood, and living rent free in Ohio State's head, uh, that's going to be a big game. And the best is yet to come. That's going to add a lot to that rivalry. And I mean, it's the biggest rivalry in all college football, and arguably the biggest rivalry in all sports. A lot rides on that game. Obviously, Michigan prevented Ohio State from going to the Big Ten championship game. Ohio State's prevented Michigan from going to that game, and then the last 4 years, Michigan returned the favor. So they don't call it the game for nothing. And now that those two teams are on top of college football, get your fucking popcorn ready. I cannot wait till next year. Now that we have a quarterback, and we can, put this season behind us. Which ended strong, beating Ohio State and Alabama. It was a good way to end the season. I have my faith restored in Sharon more, and I look to potentially take the crown from Ohio State next year again, like we always do. So that game's going to be big. I can't wait to see that. So that's going to cover college football. I want to let you guys know about our sponsor, Warlord Beard Oil. If you go to www.warlordbeardoil.com, put in that promo code Old Sports, you will get 15% off all your beard products. And if you spend $65 or more, you will get free shipping. So go to www.warlordbeardoil.com, put in that promo code Old Sports for 15% off your purchases. And if anything is over $65 or more, you will get free shipping. I want to talk about the Flyers. I don't know about you, but I thought that win on Saturday was kind of a big deal. You know, Obviously we had Quitter Gauthier uh, making his return to Philadelphia, and those Flyers fans made sure he got uh, an earful of the "fuck you, Cutter" chants and all that, and "we won, Cutter." And it goes to show you, man, like Flyers hockey is alive, and it's the if you build it, they will come. People, when there is stakes like that, when you're going up against a guy like Quitter Gauthier, um, Flyers fans are going to be excited for that, and they want what they got on Saturday, and that needs to be the template going forward. And obviously, Jamie Drysdale got a goal. He was obviously a part of the deal that sent the Quitter to Anaheim. Obviously, Anaheim's not a great team, but the way they played, as motivated as they played, they look like they played with a death wish on Saturday. If they can play like that, I know they're last in the Metropolitan Division, but if you take a look at the division, I mean, they're only 5 games back. There is some time left in the season to potentially go on a run, but a win like Saturday could change the trajectory of this Flyers team. I mean, it was all over social media, whether it be X, whether it be Instagram, the "fuck you, Cutter" stuff was all over the place, and they were the Flyers faithful was very motivated, at Wells Fargo, and if you put a good product out like they did, you're going to get people to come, and you're going to get people invested, and I think a win like Saturday could potentially change the directory of the season. I know they have a lot of work to do, being in last place of their division, but I think that there is still time. And when they play with their hair on fire, like they did, take the pressure off your goaltender, um, and play good defense, and Travis Konechny doing his thing. Uh, there was a buzz, there was a vibe, and it's very palpable, and it shows you that Flyers fans will come if you put together a good product. So hopefully the front office saw that, and hopefully they can make a move at the deadline, or going into next year, make a move, because there is something here. And they're a young team, but when they play like they played on Saturday, they can go places, and I hope that this can finally be the turning point of the season where they play consistent winning hockey, because it's very possible. When they play with their hair on fire, good things happen. So maybe that this is the turning point of the season. I could be wrong, but it just goes to show you when when Wells Fargo is rocking and rolling, and they're invested, and the team is playing with their hair on fire, and they're playing complementary hockey, offense, defense, and goaltending. They can do some big things. So this could potentially be the turning point of the Flyers season, and I really hope it is, because um, that was special Saturday night. It's a little win. They snapped the 4-game winning streak, and this could very well just be a one and done type thing, and they can kind of play inconsistent hockey, after this game. Obviously, they have a tough matchup tonight against the Panthers, the defending champions. But if they can rally the troops after that performance, and given what was at stake with Quitter Gauthier coming into town, if they have that mentality, and Torts can continue to instill that every single game, and these guys know that they can do special things when they play with their hair on fire. I think it could be a good second half of the season for the Flyers. So look out for that. That will do it for us today. Enjoy Victory Monday. It was a great win yesterday for the Eagles, and I feel really good about their chances going forward. I feel good about whoever they play, the Vikings and the Rams. I think they match up well defensively. Um, I'm not scared of anybody, and if there's room for improvement with the offense, watch out. And that's just yesterday was a game where they were kind of playing with their food. If they actually play methodical football, both running and throwing the ball, like I know that they can, um, watch out, watch out. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come with this Eagles team, especially what I've seen defensively. So that's going to do it for us today.